large earthquake at Campi Flegrei at a very unusual location, and it was felt widespread in locations that people said, hey, is there an earthquake? Is that Campi Flegrei? And it was loud, it was long, and it was strong. And preliminary, it was a 4.6. People said, my local source said, I never felt something that strong. And many said, well, I'm further away, but my bed was shaking. Another guy said, well, I'm quite far away from Campi Flegrei, but I had a coffee, and then my coffee was shaking like a jacuzzi pool. And then for a very long time, there was no information. I checked the ING website, and I'm like, what the heck? That should be live earthquake data. Why isn't it there? If you're a local and you're shaking, you want to know what's going on. Was this an earthquake? Where is it? And especially, how big is it? Because is it a foreshock? Is it an aftershock? So while I was preparing this video, it was all coming in and nothing was visible on the ING website, nothing on the USGS website. Now I'm sure when I'm editing, it's coming in, and then you see we already had an aftershock, 2.1, and it's in the water, guys. It's in the water. It's basically in the middle of the Gulf of Pozzuoli. And you know, that is unusual that we have such a strong earthquake at that location. The strongest recorded ever after the Monte Nuovo eruption, we had 4.6 magnitude earthquakes, basically almost 2 years ago. And now they say this was really, really strong. It was shallow, roughly only 2.6 miles deep, roughly 3.1 kilometers. And all the magnitude 4s that we had 4.4, 4.3, 4.0, something like that. They were all on land, basically around the red zone, Pozzuoli, the Solfatara. That's the crater where an eruption is most likely. And scientists are telling us a phreatic eruption we could see at any time without warning. And they recently just tried to rehearse evacuation scenarios, and it's not really working. And they're not even done with preparation of the necessary road. So that strong earthquake is frightening people. I've seen local sources say, I'm absolutely terrified. It was a loud boom, a loud war, and it was so long, and we're still shaking because aftershocks are trembling. And then there's smaller in the microseismic area, aftershocks happening there now all the time. So people are really, really scared. And I've just said it in one of my recent videos. In China, we were wondering, why are buildings collapsing from a 5.2? Well, the key is older masonry buildings. And in that China video, I explained to you, look at Naples. Scientists and structural engineers are telling us if we see something in the magnitude 5.1, we will count the lost people, hundreds of thousands, because the buildings there are old, not reinforced masonry buildings, many of them, not all, but many, and they will collapse. And structural engineers say, even in the red zone in Pozzuoli, some of these homes that are next to each other, they're only leaning on each other because the grout is basically like pulverized dust. And we've seen this at a magnitude 4.4 earthquake when ceilings were collapsing, the stucco was coming down, and it was dusty, everything. So people are frightened right now. And it happened basically at 5:50 in the morning. So people were probably still in their beds sleeping, many, not all of them. And there was a 1.3 shortly after midnight. So this is always not a good time because many people are in the homes. And that worries me, right? So, and people are worried. What's happening? Is this now something that the volcano is doing? Is the volcano erupting? So that's why I was a little bit, it also took quite a while for the mayor of Pozzuoli to release his statement. So he said, basically, you see the note behind me, Luigi Manzoni, mayor of Pozzuoli. A few minutes ago, a strong earthquake has happened in Pozzuoli. There is an earthquake swarm since 5:50 a.m., currently monitored together with the Civil Protection and the Vesuvius Observatory, that's the INGV. We have activated the Municipal Operations Center. We have alerted all the technicians for checks on the territory, and we are foreseeing the suspension of schools, teaching, teaching institutions to allow due controls on school buildings. I will keep you updated in the next hours. And for any possible report, I ask you to contact the civil protection and the municipal police. So USGS has it in a weird location and only 4.1. So I think they will adjust this over time because the locals, you see it on the maps, where the local INGV, where they have that earthquake. And while I speak, they have adjusted their earthquake list. So now between the 4.4, how the INGV has it, and the 2.1, there also happened a 1.2, basically 3 minutes at 5:53, 3 minutes after the first strong shock. So we have 4.4 at 5:50, 5:53, 1.2, 5:57, the 2.1, and many smaller microseismic ones in between, most likely. And again, more local reports. It was very strong. It was very loud. It was very intense. It was frightening. And so I see all these comments and I see that the locals were confused. What is happening, right? And really all over the internet, locals were searching for information and they couldn't really get any. So, and I was live with them basically, and it was really surprising how long it took until we were able to get a little bit more information. So it wasn't only like not knowing where it's happening and what is happening, but also like not knowing how strong is it, right? That's also where's the epicenter. And many people were surprised that but if it's in the water and it was shallow, so that's why it was probably spreading out more widely within this area, not only concentrated around Pozzuoli and the Solfatara area. We're worried that if there might be an eruption, if it's in the water, it could send a tsunami into Naples as well, right? And we know the risk for a phreatic eruption without warning, that is there. We had increased fumarolic activity, increased temperatures, increased land rise again, and then again, these volcanic gas emissions in homes, so that schools had to be closed and stuff like this. So this is another warning. It's not over. Nothing is dying down at the supervolcano in Campi Flegrei, in the greater Naples area with more than 6 million people. They were just recently talking about new evacuation plans. They have implemented some like a year and a half ago, but they just did another rehearsal and almost nobody was taking part in these rehearsals. The seasoned scientists say, well, this won't work anyways. Problem is, if there's an earthquake up front of anything volcanic, homes will collapse, clog the evacuation routes. The main highway, so many bridges, so many columns. If that collapses from an earthquake, that's the main artery where everyone has to drive to get out. And they say seismic upgrades will take at least until the end of 2027. And we know how it is. And Bella Italia is no difference. It takes longer than that. So that is all not ready. Actually, people have reported that because of construction work, actually parts of the road are clogged or closed. Same with evacuation routes. So you can imagine this is not good. And even if they say just evacuate the red zone in Pozzuoli and around the Solfatara area, if I was in Naples and I hear they're evacuating, I would evacuate as well, because I don't think you're safe in Naples from any volcanic eruption, right? So mass panic breaks out everywhere, in my opinion. And then people are trying to get out, and then it's very dire. I don't know what to do. I said it. They should gradually remove everyone from the red zone. And that's what scientists are begging for, basically, have been for years. At least do not let anyone move there. If someone moves out, close the house down. Make it a national park or something, because they're living right on top of the volcano. But let's hear a little bit more of what reports are coming in right now. Another news that I get is, and they still say supposed earthquake. I mean, we know it was an earthquake. We've got the locals, we've got the reports, right? They say the approximate estimate is anything magnitude 3.8, some say 4.2, 4.6, something like this. Then we hear the epicenter seems to be in the west area of Monte Nuovo, Bacoli, And they also say at the moment, nothing's visible at the INGV. So aren't the INGV the ones who surveil this 24/7? So just release the data, even if it's preliminary. If I was living there and I feel the shaking, I want to go to the INGV website, the local volcanic observatory, and I want to see what's happening, right? So while I say that, the INGV heard me, guys. So they said it's not on their website yet, but they posted it. So they say it's 4.4 local time, 5:50 a.m., May 21st, 2026. The depth is roughly 3.1 kilometers, so that's 2.65-ish miles. That's shallow, guys. That is shallow. That's why they felt the shaking so much, right? So, and then we hear people said, even my alarm clock started going off from that strong shaking. They said, we heard a big, loud sneeze. And another said, it's been years since I felt an earthquake that intense. And my guess, it's near the Phlegreian fields, Campi Flegrei. Yeah, I guess your guess is absolutely correct. And then they're saying, and this is interesting because this just came out right now while I'm speaking, they say the ground still trembles at the Campi Flegrei from that earthquake. So, and of course, I still see posts like 11 minutes ago where locals are asking, does anyone know if this earthquake was really Campi Flegrei? And and he says, guys, I'm here in Barra. I was having my coffee and in the cup, and it felt like a jacuzzi. So it seems this was widely felt where people were thinking, is this really coming from Campi Flegrei? So people that were further away said, my bed was shaking at 5:51. It felt very strongly, and I don't even dare to imagine how this must have felt in the Campi Flegrei area. So that is interesting, and that is something that we need to definitely look up in a follow-up video, guys. But I'll send this out to you, and then stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Subscribe and like and hype.